Welcome to The Shift Show with Adriana Bucci. Join me every week to learn all about narcissistic abuse recovery, healing from physical and emotional pain after the abuse, and everything else to do with toxic people and how they affect your physical, emotional, and mental health. And no, you are not the crazy one. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Let's get right to it. Hey, and welcome back to The Shift Show. This week I have a very insightful interview with fellow coach, colleague, and friend Claire, who is a narcissistic abuse educator, recovery coach, and podcaster. She's worked extensively in the entertainment industry as a model, actor, dancer, and presenter. She's passionate about self-education, learning, and educating people on healthy versus unhealthy relationships, trauma, and recovery. Narcissistic and emotionally abusive relationship recovery is her main focus, and she also draws from her own personal experience of domestic violence, trauma bonding, and narcissistic abuse relationships and recovery. And in today's episode, we had a very interesting conversation all about trauma bonds and healing from narcissistic abuse. So I will stop my rambling and we'll get right into it. Here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of The Shift Show. I'm joined here today with Claire, and super excited to have you here. Hey, Claire.
Thanks, Adriana. It's good to chat with you. I'm glad to be on the show.
Amazing. So before we kind of dive into all things narcissistic abuse and healing and whatnot, I'll have you sort of introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, so my name is Claire Auden. I'm a narcissistic abuse educator and a narcissistic relationship recovery coach.
Awesome. So what got you into this field?
Oh, the $1,000,000 question. A series of narcissistic relationships.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. I hate getting asked that question on dates when people are like, oh, like you're on a date with a guy and they're like, how did you get into that? It's like,
That's too funny. Probably a good way to wake them out, right?
Do you reckon?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll either, I feel like they would either get like super nervous or like feel like up for the challenge to see if they could bamboozle you. Like I feel like it could go either way.
Yeah, it might be a way to weed out the narcissists.
Totally.
Or present a challenge.
Exactly. That's awesome. So how did you figure out that you were dating a series of narcissists?
Yeah, so I had a couple of guys that I was dating that I had realized were narcissists. And then I got into a relationship with a really severely pathological narcissist, like the worst one that I've dated. And I actually had a friend who'd had a series of narcissistic relationships. And the whole relationship, she was telling me, like, he's a narcissist, this is a trauma bond. He's a narcissist, this is a trauma bond. I was like, no, he self-reflects, he apologizes, kind of.
Yep.
And then I got pretty savagely discarded. And I was like, oh, wow, he's a narcissist. This is a trauma bond.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and did like the really deep dives. I went crazy researching it, going into looking at trauma bonding and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think I really started out because I didn't know what a trauma bond was. I just knew that something was like terribly wrong when I didn't feel like I could extricate myself, and when I knew that he was abusing me, and then I felt like I was still going to die without him. And I think no one around me really understood any of it and treated me like I was crazy, and I felt like I was crazy. And then when I started researching it, it was like, oh, this is a thing, this is normal, this is how people feel after one of these relationships. And so I started educating from that perspective.
Wow. So for our audience
Yeah.
who might not know what exactly a trauma bond is, do you want to
Mm.
explain what that means?
Yeah. So a trauma bond is a type of intense bond that forms between an abuser and their victim, and it forms in the cycle of abuse and repair. So it generally forms between a narcissist and their partner. So essentially you're put on this like roller coaster of hormones, emotions, and chemicals. So in the bad times, you're walking on eggshells, your system's flooded with cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and then you get that repair. And when you get the repair, like they hug you, whatever it is, you patch things up, you get this flood of dopamine and oxytocin. and it essentially mirrors an addiction. So it's like that cycle, and it's like a roller coaster of extreme emotions. So I always describe to my clients it's like a gambling addict who's sitting at the slot machine and they're putting more and more money in than they're getting back. But every now and then they get a small win and they get such a hit of dopamine that it keeps them there. And a trauma bond actually activates the same part of the brain as in a chemical addiction.
Mm-hmm. That's a really good
So when you,
analogy with the
yeah,
slot machines. Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. So when you are discarded or you leave the narcissist, you're no longer in that cycle and you literally go into withdrawals. And that's the main reason that people continually go back to abusive relationships, because once you're out of the relationship and you're not on that roller coaster of hormones and emotions anymore, you kind of flatline and you're not getting the dopamine or the oxytocin, and your brain, your addiction brain, will literally tell you whatever it needs to in order to get that hit. So you start thinking like your brain starts telling you that the only way to feel okay again is to return to the abuser, to go back into that cycle.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah, makes a lot
Yeah.
of sense. So yeah, I hope that helps anyone who's wondering what a trauma bond is, and that is what it is. And so
Yeah.
let's go back to the friend that was warning you that this guy you were dating was a narcissist.
Mm.
'Cause I have had this struggle so much with some of my own friends who I know have been in relationships with narcissists, and I've tried to warn them,
Yeah.
like they just will not
Yeah.
hear it. And that's the thing, like
Yeah.
someone who's like in the depths of the shit show does not want to hear it. So can you kind of speak to
Yeah.
that, how that went for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, once you're kind of hooked in and you're in that cycle and the trauma bond is kind of activated, you can't hear it because you feel like you need this person and you need to stay in the relationship. And so you just kind of suppress your intuition, you suppress the facts, you suppress what's actually going on. And so, yeah. But I mean, once I was discarded, I was kind of able to open up to that and sort of look into it. And yeah. But no, when I was in the relationship, I was like, no. I was looking for every little sign that like he's not one, even though he was like a raging covert narcissist. It's kind of an oxymoron.
It really kind of is, but it makes sense. Like for all of us who have experienced a covert narcissist, they are raging, but in their own weird way.
Yeah. Like a raging introvert.
Totally. That's funny.
um, but I mean, if I hadn't had her there to kind of spoon feed me that information, I don't know how long it would have taken me.
Totally.
I actually kind of, when the relationship ended, so initially, obviously I was discarded. So I had this like abandonment wound mapped down. Like I absolutely like fell apart, like I physically collapsed. I was like, even though I knew he was abusing me, so I knew something was terribly wrong at that point. But and then I was like that for a day. And then I started going into all of the narcissist content, the trauma bonding, and I was like, holy crap. Like he is textbook narcissist. This is a trauma bond. And then I couldn't cry for like 2 months. For 2 months, I was just consuming content and I was like, this person isn't real. Like, what has happened? Like, I just went into, you kind of go into shock
Yeah.
sometimes when you get out of these relationships. Yeah. And it takes time to be able to start to actually feel your feelings and process those feelings.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And that's the
Yeah.
thing too, right? Like with narcissists, like they make you repress your emotions, and your
Yeah.
emotions are really like your compass to kind of show you what the truth
Mm-hmm.
is. So when you're
Yeah.
in that sort of relationship with a narcissist, it's like you are repressing and repressing and repressing. And it's like,
Mm.
it's almost like, because like we don't know about emotions in general, right? Like it's not something that we're taught
Mm-hmm.
in school or, usually by our parents
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. And
Yeah.
it's like once you kind of start learning about it, you realize like how
Yeah.
long you've been sort of closed off from those emotions for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And especially if you grew up with parents where you had to also suppress your emotions at times, if not all of the time. So
Totally.
you're used to kind of ignoring your gut feeling and your intuition and pushing things down. And yeah, in a narcissistic relationship, it's not safe to after a point in time, and in the love bombing phase, there's a little bit of flexibility, but once you get into the relationship, it's not safe to express your thoughts, your feelings, your needs, your desires, and you start suppressing like everything, not just your feelings and your thoughts and needs, but your personality, who you are, which is why people lose themselves in these relationships.
100%, right? Because then they start making
Yeah.
those little digs at your personality. It's like the
Mm-hmm.
stuff that they loved
Mm-hmm.
about you during the love bombing phase is
Exactly what I
now
was
a
going to
problem.
say. The things they love about you in the beginning are the things they hate you for the rest of the relationship.
Yep.
You're so confident and you're a strong woman and you're a businesswoman and you have all these things going on. And then they like go to work at like
Yep.
destroying you and breaking you down and hating those things.
Totally. It's
Yeah.
like, I hate that you're so confident. What gave you the confidence? Your business is stupid, all that kind of stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, exactly.
One big giant contradiction.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's something for our listeners that I will mention that, like, a normal person, they will not contradict themselves. Whereas a
Mm-hmm.
narcissist will, right? Like a normal person, like
Mm-hmm.
what they like about you at the beginning, they will continue liking about you
Mm-hmm.
throughout the relationship.
Mm-hmm. And it's also that words versus actions as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. So, so what were like, you don't have to get too detailed, but what were some of the things where the words and the actions like didn't match up?
I think that one of the big things, like, so a lot of the narcissists, they go in really strong with the I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, like really quickly.
Hmm.
But of course, narcissists don't feel love because narcissistic traits are so antithetical to love, right? And they don't love anyone. But I think something that really stood out was mine, like, couldn't say, I love you. But he was like, you're the center of my universe. You're the most important person in my world. You come before anything. Like, all of these, like, kind of things. And I was like, oh, like, because I got pulled into this, like, the love bombing and everything. And it was so intense. And I was like, oh, I feel like I'm falling in love with you. And he was like, oh, love. I was like, yeah. And it was like, it kind of turned into this conversation where he started telling me, like, oh, you're the center of my universe. You're the most important person in my world. Like, I don't know if it's love yet. And I was like, okay, I feel like everything that you're describing is love. And he was like, oh, well, love to me is you stand by me no matter what. I can say and do essentially anything and you're still going to be there. And he started describing a transaction,
Oh boy.
literally describing a transaction. And I was like, it was weird because I was like, oh, this person's like saying and doing all of these things, but like they don't actually know what love is. And their description of love is just this like bizarre transactional thing that had to do with my behavior
Hmm.
and nothing to do with his feelings.
Hmm. Sounds about narc. That's exactly it, right?
Yeah. And it
And
was just like, yeah, it's like the actions were like but it was like he was acting. He's like saying all these things and doing all these things, but then like the feeling isn't there. And it's like this person doesn't actually know what love is at all. And it was just like this odd, like words versus actions thing. And I was just like, this. But of course, when you're in one of these relationships, you push that down
of
and you're
course,
like, well, you just had a
fine.
tough childhood. Oh, it's just, whatever. Oh, maybe he's a guy.
Mhm.
And like,
Totally. We all make excuses for them, and that's the thing with narcissists. Like narcissistic abuse literally lives off of excuses and justifications.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then like those wild double standards as well.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started with the double standards. Like everything is a double standard. Like it's okay for them
Yeah.
to, I don't know, do whatever, but if you do
Yeah.
like half of that, it's like
Yeah.
you've been reincarnated.
And I can't even say it. Like I literally can't say it because it's not happening to them because they're the only real person in the situation and you're
Exactly.
just there as an object to serve their needs.
Exactly.
And so it's that thing of one rule for you and no rules for them.
Exactly. Exactly. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah,
Awesome.
exactly.
And so as you were going down this rabbit hole, of realizing that, you know, the guy you were just in a discard with and broken up with was a narcissist, did you start kind of realizing that you dated other narcissists too, or did that take a little more time to sort of put those pieces together?
Yeah, so I had already, so maybe 7 years ago, I had dated like my first full-on narcissist. So I do Muay Thai kickboxing. I used to do it really obsessively. And I'd had a crush on my coach for the longest time. And we had finally, like, we're going to go out. And immediately, like, he was like, oh my God, I love you. You're amazing. Like, I love you so much. Like, on the first date. And I was like, at that point, I didn't
Yeah,
know anything about it. I
of
didn't know
course.
anything about love bombing. I didn't know anything about narcissists. And I was like, oh, he was a Thai kickboxer, like a professional Muay Thai fighter. And I was like, oh, and it's cultural. And he like love bombed me so hard for a couple of weeks. And I got like sucked in and then spit out pretty quickly. Like the whole thing lasted about 4 weeks, maybe. And I had gone into the whole narcissist thing a little bit because I was seeing my psychotherapist at the time, and she was like, so what do you think this is reminiscent of? Like, what do you think is up with him? And I was like, well, from my research, I think that he's a narcissist or a psychopath or something because of the way that he had acted and the way that he had behaved. And she was like, yes, he's a narcissist. And I was like, okay. So I had been vaguely, aware that I'd like dated narcissists in the past, but I think because it was such a short relationship, I hadn't gone so in depth with it. And so I think that I'd had this like vague idea of like love bombing and like they don't actually have feelings. And like I kind of got love bombed, sucked in and chewed up and spit out. And I was like, okay. And then I moved on. So like then in this situation, it was like it presented differently. And so, yeah. And so I had like known that I dated like narcissists before, but it wasn't on this level.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And it's, you know, it's
Yeah.
interesting you say that because they do present differently because the love bombing
Mm-hmm.
tactics can be totally different depending on,
Yeah.
you know, certain situations. And I had that
Mm-hmm.
experience too, where like, you know, some of the narcissists I dated in the past, like it was just very full on love bombing, like I love you
Mm-hmm.
within like the first week or like not even the
Mm-hmm.
first date, like just absolute.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know back then, obviously, but now it's just like, wow, like red flags.
Yeah.
And
And you
then
know
in
what? I
others,
also think,
yeah.
yeah, sorry.
No, I was gonna say with
Oh,
others, it's like the love bombing took a bit longer, but it was like,
mm-hmm.
you know, we were quote unquote best friends for 3 years before he realized he had feelings for
Mm-hmm.
me kind of thing. So it was like I
Mm-hmm.
was not putting that two and two together.
And you know what? I also think, like, it obviously also depends on whether they're kind of more covert or overt, but I also think that it depends on how sophisticated of a manipulator and an abuser that they are. Because some of them are clumsy and they come in with, oh my God, I love you, and like without kind of realizing that is going to drive some people away. And then some of them are a bit more sophisticated and they don't do it in such an overt way. And it's more of like, instead of the, oh my God, I love you, like crazy, like love bombing stuff, it can be more subtle, like kind of, look, I'm going to be here for you no matter what. You can trust me. You can talk to me. Like, I'm going to support. Like, it can be in a way that, like, is, yeah, more sophisticated in the manipulation.
Yeah, totally. It can also be like we have
Calculated.
so many.
We
Yeah.
have so much in common. We're the
Yeah,
same
we have so much in
person.
common.
We have the
Exactly.
same, yeah, the same outlook and the same wants and desires.
We're
And
so
that's what happened
similar.
in my last relationship.
Yep.
Yeah, we're like the same person. The
Mhm.
universe brought us together.
We're
And I
twin
actually believe,
flames. Yep.
yeah.
We manifested each other.
Yes. Which, you know what? I look back and I still believe that the universe brought us together,
Mhm.
but not for the reason that I initially thought. Because I truly believe that right now, with the education and the coaching I'm doing, I truly believe that I'm meant to be doing this and this is where I'm supposed to be. And that the universe kind of did bring us together for that reason to put me on this path. But it wasn't the reason that I initially thought.
Exactly. Exactly.
Let's
I
do a little
totally
life coaching reframe.
love it.
Yeah.
That is too
Yeah.
funny.
But I will say, going back to the other one with the Muay Thai coach, that it was really confusing. It was really that thing of like he was two completely different people in public versus in private.
Yeah.
He was absolutely loved and adored by everyone. He was amazing with the kids, amazing with animals, always had a smile on his face. And then it was like so bizarre because we would be alone together and the door would close and it would be like he would take his mask off and hang it up on the scarf rack at the door.
Yep.
And he was like a different people, like dead behind the eyes, flat, empty, vacant, which is what narcissists are like behind the scenes when no one's watching.
Totally.
And that was, that was a big clanger. And, it's interesting because when I first got involved with this last one, I saw facial expressions that were so reminiscent of that Thai coach that it was like it's like my subconscious was like, oh, kind of looks a bit like that, right?
Yep.
Because they all, not to say that all narcissists are the same. There are nuanced differences, but they're all the same.
They are. They really are.
They're all the same person.
Absolutely. And I swear
they all do the
make
same things.
faces. Yeah. They all do the same
Same
thing.
facial expressions.
Yep. Same facial expressions, same pattern, right? It's always going to be, and this is what I tell my clients too, that it's always going to be love bomb, devalue, discard. But the context is what's going to make it different from any other given narcissist because, if it's like a relationship, the love bombing is going to be, those grand gestures at the beginning, trying to convince you that like you're meant for each other. The universe brought you together, which maybe it did, but maybe not for those specific reasons. And the thing with the cycle of abuse is that it's not just the entire cycle. It's literally like throughout the relationship, there will be those micro
cycles.
Yeah. And they'll happen like
absolutely
conversation. And it's literally all
absolutely
the same stuff. And like their one-liners are all the same. They have the same, like that smirk, that narcissistic smirk.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yep. The dead eyes, like the vacant, soulless eyes, which is not automatically detectable because they wear that mask. But behind closed doors, once they, like you said, put the mask on the scarf rack, it's like that vacant nothing because there really is nothing inside.
Yeah. Everything's an act. Everything's a performance. Everything is like pre-scripted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I remember mine wrote me a poem in the beginning and literally plagiarized lines from another famous poem.
Wow. So romantic.
Which I was familiar with, and I kind of read it and I was like, I think those are his words.
Your intuition was trying to say something, but of course, we always ignore it. Oh, man.
Which, I also just want to say, like, before, we mentioned this thing of, like, I joke about the universe bringing us together, but for a different reason. But, a lot of these relationships are just so horrifically devastating and so horrifically abusive. And there's absolutely not always a reason that things happen. Sometimes terrible things happen for no good reason.
Exactly.
And I just want to acknowledge that for people that are listening, that I'm not trying to tell people that, your narcissist brought you together for a reason. That's my reframe. That's how I handle my stuff. But, bad things happen for no good reason.
Of course, right? Because at the end of the day, and I say that too, right? Like, it's like, okay, like I was raised by a narcissistic mother, should have never happened, but hey, here I am, I'm coaching, like I'm making something good out of it. But on the same token, it's like, no, would have been cool just having a totally boring life, having no idea what narcissistic was, right? So I totally get it.
Yeah. Yeah, living with the trauma. It's like, it's awful.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. And it's, like it's really the reason that narcissists abuse is because they choose to at the end of the day, not because there's some
abuse is a choice.
Exactly. It's always a choice. And yes, we all learn lessons from the abuse, but it's like lessons we didn't necessarily need, right? But at least in both of our cases, we've done the inner work and like moved forward in a way where we're helping others not have to go through it as badly as we did, because then at least they have actual guidance. to get through it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because, you know, and I'm sure this was the same for you, but I didn't have help from someone who'd been through it or understood in the way that I help my clients. Like I try to be that person that I needed at that time.
Same.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there was no such thing as a narcissistic abuse recovery coach back in 2014 when I figured it out, literally a decade ago. Maybe there was, but like I just didn't do that deep research into it. And I was in therapy, and I'm really glad your therapist at least knew what a narcissist was for you in your case.
Back
but
then,
for me,
right?
Yeah,
Because
right.
I was Googling it and it was hard back then to find information. And I was like, I'd heard the term love bombing and I was like, I think this is love bombing. And I was like Googling love bombing. And this was like, 7 years ago or something like this. And I was like, not finding answers on Google. Like now, if you type in love bombing and you start looking at stuff up, like a million articles come up. But yeah, back then, I couldn't find the information. And so then even when I got into this last relationship, it was like, okay, so I've got the vibe, maybe a bit narcissistic, bit love bombing, but it was like I didn't know what that meant. I wasn't thinking devaluation, discard, and trauma bond. I was thinking love bombing isn't great, narcissistic isn't great, but I didn't have that information. You know, I saw this quote recently and I loved it. And it said, did you ignore the red flags? Or did you not have the life skills to understand what they mean?
Right. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I was at that point.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a good one. I am speechless with how good that one is.
Yes.
Because it's so true, because we're not taught what the red flags are, right? Like if someone did not have the good luck with the algorithm to find one of our social media pages.
TikTok listening through the microphone of their phone as they have conversations, and then like mysteriously popping up videos.
Exactly, right? If someone did not have that and they literally genuinely have no idea what the red flags are, that's not their fault, right? Like no one teaches us this. It's like people only do it if they're lucky enough to know it or unlucky enough to have gone through
it. Have to learn the hard way.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's knowing what that red flag is going to translate into a mean down the line.
Yes, exactly.
Instead of just thinking like, oh, this isn't great in the moment. It's like, oh no, this is indicative that I'm dating like a pathological narcissist, like a borderline psychopath. You don't think that. You don't think that. Exactly. It's like, oh, they're enthusiastic. They really like me. That feels great. It's a red flag. They're coming on a bit strong, but you don't think this person is like has the same personality disorder as Ted Bundy.
Yeah, exactly. Great way to put it. That's too funny.
Yeah, and I think society and the media and movies and TV shows like also romanticize the wrong things, and they romanticize love bombing and all this kind of behavior. And you know, I've had people say to me like, "Oh, I just thought this was, you know, how it's supposed to be because this is what we see in the movies. This is that amazing like gentleman or prince or princess that's like come along and is giving me everything I ever wanted and ever needed, and it's, you know, it's just like the movies."
And we all have Disney princess syndrome. And Disney was wrong and the movies are wrong, right? And I swear, like every song is literally written about a narcissist.
Every song?
Yeah. Like just all the popular songs. Like if you listen to the lyrics, it's like, yeah, this person's singing about a narcissist.
Yeah.
Right? And if it's like a really lovey-dovey, like really nice song, the first thing I think is like, yeah, in a couple of months they'll have a new single out about like a devastating breakup that they went through because they were singing about a narcissist.
Yeah, exactly. So true. There's this, I was listening to this song a while back. That old song, what is it? I Will Survive, old one.
Yeah.
That is absolutely about a narcissist.
100%.
Like everyone go back and listen to that song.
Yes.
Like that is absolutely about a narcissist.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. I think it's from like the 50s or something, but she knew.
Yes. I'm trying to think of the lines. It was like, you tried to break me with goodbye.
Yep.
And you didn't think I would survive. And now you're and now you're back and you just want everything back.
Space.
And I'm like listening to it and I'm like, this was written about a narcissistic relationship.
100%. Right? Even like the beginning line, first I was afraid, I was petrified.
Petrified.
Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side. She was in a trauma bond.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that you love the lyrics because I just butchered trying to remember what the lyrics were. I'm like giving the vibe. People are like, that's not the line.
That's hilarious.
I'm paraphrasing.
Totally. I have a thing with lyrics, I just remember them for some reason. Like me and my husband will watch like lyric battles and I'll always win. Too funny.
Love that.
That's hilarious. But yes, every single song is probably about a narcissist at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
absolutely.
You could say it's because they cause so much pain and that inspires the art, but again, sucks that they have to go through it to begin with.
Yeah. And let's also talk about how many narcissists there are out there actually doing damage. I did a video a few weeks ago about how many people realistically are affected by narcissistic abuse, because always in the comments people are like, oh, it's incredibly rare, it's so unlikely that you're actually dealing with a narcissist and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, if we look at the most conservative estimation, narcissists make up sort of between 1 to 5% of the population. That's 1 to 5 people in every 100. So that's like, if there's 7.8 billion people in the world, that's like at the most conservative 7.8 million narcissists walking around. Like I literally went into like the stats. It was like the average person has about 10 relationships in their lifetime, and narcissists will have a lot more. They're often carrying on multiple relationships at the same time, love bombing, reeling people in, spitting them out. And I think I estimated, like I went into all these calculations, that 390 million people at the least have had a relationship with a pathological narcissist. Like it's not so common. Not everyone is a narcissist. You get people that are jaded and they're like, oh, narcissist, 50% of the population, everyone's a narcissist. Like, no, that's not the case. Not everyone's a narcissist, but 1 to 5% of the population is huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did similar math one time too. And I made a video years ago, which you've inspired me to remake the video because I'm sure a lot of people missed it by this point. But I did the math one day and I Googled like, because as they say, like 1%, if we're going to go on the very low end of this 1%,
most conservative.
Yeah, this bullshit statistic. And the thing is, the statistics is just what's reported. And most narcissists don't think that there's something wrong with them. So they're not going to be like, oh, I should go get a diagnosis because I don't like the way I'm treating people. No, they don't give a fuck. They're going to continue just changing their targets and continuing to inflict abuse, and that's how they choose to live their life. And so this 1% joke is only documented narcissists, really. And these are like the people who have probably had to go to court and do a psychological evaluation. And I swear, like this is just my own opinion. This is not rooted in a fact, but I'm sure like the majority of people who get psychological evaluations should probably be like not just okay. So I am not wording this gracefully at all. People who are
that was me before when I was butchering the song lines.
Exactly. See. Adriana speaking, take 2. So people who are narcissists, not people in general who get psychological evaluations. Let me just clear that up right now. Because I've had to have psychological evaluations because of anxiety, ADHD, depression, all the things. So I'm not lumping anyone in general who had an evaluation. Exactly, right? So people who are narcissists, who get like evaluated because, they had to go to court for some reason. Maybe they committed a crime or whatever. I find that they still don't like, maybe a bunch of them still don't get diagnosed as a narcissist because it's like politically incorrect and like people just don't like that word. So I think the numbers are still way off. But anyways, back to the math.
And a lot of the
no, go ahead.
And a lot of the people that are supposed to be doing the diagnosing don't have a super strong handle on personality disorders, narcissistic abuse, and things like that.
Exactly.
And then there's the other massive factor, which is that narcissists are really good at acting and image control.
Oh, exactly. So they're going to answer in a way where it's not going to.
They're going to tell they're going to tell the psychotherapist or whoever it is what they want to hear.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So it's like, it's never going to be an accurate figure, but if we entertain 1%, so this video, I'm really going to have to remake. I Googled one day how many people the average person meets. Like if you live in just like an average sized city, right? Average lifespan of like into your 70s.
I already see where this is going. Yep. Love it. I'm on the edge of my seat. Yep. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no. And so if you have an average lifespan of like 79 years or 70, whatever it is, 70 something, you live in an average size city, probably going to be a lot more people if you live in a bigger city. You meet 10,000 people throughout your entire lifetime. 1% of 10,000 people is 100. So that means based on this statistic, you're going to meet 100 narcissists throughout your entire lifetime. And those 100 narcissists are going to introduce themselves to you way differently than a normal, boring person, right? The narcissist is going to have such a bigger impact on your life and your well-being because they're going to, they're going to first like kind of analyze you and see if they can manipulate you and see if they can get supply from you and put you through that cycle of abuse. And so this is literally 100 people who are having a negative impact on your life throughout your lifetime. So even if it is 1%, it's still extremely damaging.
Yeah. And if you're on the dating apps, you're going to meet a lot more.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. I told you this when I was on your podcast that I did an experiment with the dating apps 10 years ago when, Tinder was in its infancy. And I went on like 20 first dates or something stupid like that. And I tried to because I was really doing that deep dive. Like this was after my final narc relationship that brought me down that rabbit hole. And I decided I'm just going to try to understand narcissistic men and see if I can sniff them out. And I did it. I should have taken notes. So I could have made some kind of course out of it, but who knows, maybe the memories will come back one day, but they are everywhere and they're totally on the dating apps because it's easy supply.
Yeah, absolutely. And an easy way to just mirror people because you've got all of your information on there so they can come in and they can jump across to your Instagram and have a little look
we have everything in common.
Easy way.
You go to this place, I go to
you're
too.
the same person.
Yep.
I don't tell people anything nowadays. I make people explain. I remember being on a date recently and it was Australia Day. And I don't celebrate Australia Day. It's a little controversial in Australia about whether it's, Australia Day, Invasion Day, things like that. It's a bit political. And this guy, I felt like he's absolutely marrying me. And I was like, no, I'm picking it up. And I was like, it was Australia Day. And I was like, oh, I don't celebrate Australia Day. And he was like, oh, neither do I. And he looked like he did. He was like Aussie bogan guy, with a beard, he did. And I was like, why don't you celebrate Australia Day? And he was like, oh, because of all the stuff that, why don't you celebrate Australia Day? And I'm like, I'm not feeding you the answers, buddy. I do this as a job. It's just I see what you're doing. And he's like, yeah, why don't you though? He's just fishing. And I was like, no, I'm not going to feed you the answers. And I think it's important to recognize that they all do the same things and you can learn the red flags and you can learn the signs and you can protect yourself by, not giving people the answers, slowing things down, asking probing questions. There's definitely ways to protect yourselves once you understand what you're dealing with. Totally.
And the thing with the asking probing questions, so I just want to preface this because I have a friend who I will not I will not rat out who this friend is. But I knew immediately that, they were dating a narcissist. But,
Yeah.
She came back to me and she's like, no, I asked all the right questions and he answered properly. And I'm like, okay. And so it's not about the answers to the questions, it's about how they answered the questions. And are their answers
Yeah.
convenient? And,
Yeah.
it's more so like, is it love bombing? Because sometimes they can
Yeah.
answer the questions in a love bombing kind of way. But
Yes.
it takes a while to kind of really develop that narc radar. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is, it's like once you have that narc radar, even if it's like in its baby stages, like you might not catch the narcissist immediately, like within the first hour of talking to them, but you
Yeah.
probably will catch it within a matter of like days or weeks or months,
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah.
years or decades when it becomes like an even bigger thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if,
Yeah.
you are kind of in the dating game and trying to like, battle through the minefield of narcissists out there because they're like literally everywhere.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up if you catch that you found one after like a couple of weeks or so, because that's still a win because at least you figured it out fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are always red flags, in my opinion.
Yeah.
There are always red flags. You just have to tune into your gut and really
Exactly.
listen.
Exactly. And what would you say
Yeah.
are the biggest red flags in your opinion?
So the biggest red flags that you're dealing with a narcissist, I mean, there's obviously the love bombing, there's rushing the relationship, there's too much mirroring, too many no way, me too. Like at this point, 3 no way, me too's in a row, and I'm out.
Yeah. Good call.
I'm out. There's always a victim story. There's always a trauma dump early on.
Yep.
Narcissists love a good trauma dump. There's like this hypersensitivity to criticism. You can feel this fragile ego and conceitedness, these undertones of arrogance at the least. If you're dealing with covert narcissists, there's a little bit of paranoia. There's a bit of, they take things a bit too personally. They're controlling themselves in the beginning, but you still normally get that feeling of a fragile ego. They try to rush the relationship. What are some of the other early dating red flags that you're dealing with a narcissist? I think the trauma dump it's a difficult one because people who are traumatized and recovering from one of these relationships can get in that loop of trauma dumping early on as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important to kind of learn about like healthy boundaries and things like that for people to protect themselves. Because whenever I've talked about online, the trauma dumping early on, I get a lot of comments of people saying like, oh, but I'm traumatized and I trauma dump early on and things like that. But it is a red flag.
Yeah.
I think it's, it's trying to gain influence. It's trying to get you to share your own stuff back. It's creating this false sense of connection. There's always my exes are crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that may be overt or covert. They could literally tell you that all of their exes are crazy, or they could subtly imply it.
Yep. Yep. All of my exes have
but it's going to be there.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's hard for I don't know about you, but me, I look back and I'm like, most of my exes are crazy, but it's having the social understanding that you don't say that on a second or third day.
Exactly, right? Because it's I had that moment too where it was like, okay, if they say all their exes are crazy, it's a red flag. And I'm thinking like, but all of my exes actually
my red flag.
Right? So then I started thinking there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm the narcissist, right? But the thing is, it's like you shouldn't even be talking about your exes on the first date.
Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And then you've got things and this is a bit it's kind of opposites, but they're rude to the waiting staff, or they're way too nice to them.
Yeah.
They're performing to everyone to in front of you, but they'll be super nice and super smooth. I think another red flag is this excessive charm. Charm, charisma, and confidence, the 3 C's. Those are dangerous. You want someone that's a bit nervous. You want someone that kind of fumbles their words a little bit, that's real. But if someone sweeps in and they're like so confident and everything, like that's a red flag. And the reason that they're so confident and they're not nervous is because they lack empathy.
Yeah, exactly.
And they don't care how you're going to feel. They don't have that feeling of like, oh, is this person going to think I'm too much? And that's another thing. Small boundary pushes in the early stages of dating, pushing your boundaries. Because they're testing you. Like you say no, and so they ask you to do it again to see if you're going to say no. Then they do these small boundary pushes early on to test if you're going to be a good supply.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Yeah. And then there's the opposite of it too, which I experienced with a narcissistic ex where I set a boundary early on because he was rushing things, but I didn't know that this was a narcissist, obviously. And this is the one that got me going down the Google rabbit hole, of course. And I basically laid out this long paragraph of a boundary through text of like how he was rushing things. I wasn't ready for a serious relationship. And that, you know, like if he was going to keep overstepping it, like this was not going to continue. And I was like uncomfortable and stuff like that. And you know what the fucker did? He praised my boundary.
Mine did that too.
Yep.
Mine did that too. Yep. Thank you so much for communicating that to me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
But mine still did push boundaries.
Yeah.
He kept touching me. And I was like, yeah. Which comes back to the words versus actions.
Yes. The contradiction.
Thank you so much for telling me a boundary. I really appreciate that. I'm glad you said it. And then it's like, please stop touching me all the time. It makes me uncomfortable. Keeps touching you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because they're trying. And then also things like making comments on your appearance, trying to change things about you and your appearance, which again is a test. They're testing how much influence can they have on you. I remember mine was like, oh, I don't like hair extensions. Like they look kind of dead. Like your natural hair is just so nice. And I'm like, oh, he doesn't like hair extensions. I won't get them again. Like, ah. And then like later on I look back and it's like, oh, that was the beginning of like telling me what I couldn't wear and like who I couldn't see and like makeup and like just everything. It's like I walked straight into it.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally.
But I think those are the off the top of my head, I think those are the main ones to look for.
Yeah.
Early dating red flags that you're dealing with a narcissist.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. And before we end off and I give you a chance to let people know where they can find you, do you have any final words for survivors who are listening to this episode?
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on. It's been great.
Thanks for coming.
I think that anyone that's listening to this podcast and that is going down that rabbit warren of continually watching videos, reading about narcissistic abuse, needing to, people go down the rabbit warren when they first get out of these relationships and they just continually take in this content, just continually all the time. And when you first get out of a narcissistic relationship, you need external input because you can't think clearly. You've been gaslit so much. You're in such a fog. You're so confused. There's so much doubt. And you need to have that external influence to be able to stay on track, to break the trauma bond, to break the cognitive dissonance and things like that. And I assume that anyone who's listening to this type of podcast is in that place right now. And I just want to say that like it does get better. You will get through this. Keep consuming this content wherever it's helping you. You will get to a point where you don't need it anymore. And, it's a terrible place to be in. And I've been there. And, you can look at myself and Adriana to see that it does get better and you will get through this. Keep consuming this content. Stay on track. Break the cognitive dissonance. You will be okay, even if it takes a period of time.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. And where can people find you if they want to learn more about you?
Yeah, so my website is claireauden.com. My TikTok is at Claire Auden, just run together. And I've just started an Instagram page. There's Claire_Auden_. So you can find me on there.
Awesome. And we'll put the links in the description of this episode so people can find you. Thanks again so much, Claire, for being on the Shift Show. It was so great chatting with you. And thanks again.
That was great. Thank you so much.